Oh my gosh. Welcome, everybody. We are live on both LinkedIn and YouTube. We have a really, really special person joining us today. I'm so excited that she could fit us into her incredibly busy schedule.
Yeah.
She's a super important lady now. We have with us Jenaine Thorpe, Dr. Jenaine Thorpe. If you are joining us live, we are live on both every single time. Give me a sound check, please. I'd like to know that you can hear us and hear us okay. Whenever you do join us, I'm paranoid about this stuff. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Hi, Jenaine. How are you?
Hi, Sally. I'm doing great.
Doing good.
Tired, but I'm here.
You're here. You're tired, but you're here. See, it's about showing up. Once you
Yeah.
show up, the rest is just down the hill from there. So please tell all this wonderful people who haven't had the privilege of knowing you yet. Tell all these wonderful people a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I didn't prepare for this, guys. So I'm just gonna be doing this impromptu. My name is Jenaine Thorpe, and I'm PGY1 resident at CSS Health, which is a managed care organization. And it is in Buffalo, New York. It's very interesting. It's different as it is also a software company. So it makes it very interesting. And I thought that was like a different avenue for me to go through. And I'm originally from Jamaica, went to school in Maryland, and I met Sally through my APPEs. And it was the first one, which I'm so grateful that I found her and I found a friend in her as well. It's been an amazing journey, especially coming from not knowing that I was going to apply for residency into just jumping headfirst like a shark was just after me, and I was just prepared to just take it head on. So it's a tough journey, but it's worth it in the end, especially everything that you go through. It is definitely something that can put you through the trenches, I would say. And I was one of those persons that didn't match the first round go around. So, definitely having people behind you, beside you, in front of you, helping you along your journey is you need that, because you might feel discouraged a few times, but definitely something that is worth it in the end.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, I remember being floored when you told me that you didn't match. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I just thought I was like, nah, you're like the poster child for what every program wants. What happened? But I admire your strength and your courage so much and your commitment, because you were like, I know I can do this and this is what I want to do. So I'm just gonna push through. And now look at us in Buffalo just
I
killing
know.
it.
I know.
Like, I know. So for the P1 student, I always think about the people that are starting out, because the biggest thing I hear is, if I knew sooner. A lot of people, like for someone like you, right? Like I was your first Appy preceptor, and
Hmm.
you were so great. Like that rotation, you just found yourself, like you just found your thing, and I could see you just like taking off. For some students, that's not till block 3 or block 4. So it could, like, you got lucky, right, to find out early. But
Yeah.
for the P1 student, what's some advice that you may have to offer the P1 student, and how they may just stay prepared so they don't have to get prepared when they do decide that they want to get a residency?
I would say the best advice is being open to everything, because you don't know where you want to go. You want to be, I'm not saying take everything on, because you do have your studies that you need to focus on, but you want to make sure you're available for the little info sessions about what people are doing, how do they get there, um, reaching out, get some contacts, network from your first year. Reach out to people on LinkedIn and just say, hey, I've been interested. I've seen your profile. How did you get here? If you don't mind me asking, if you have 5 minutes to even speak with me, or, create a meeting, anything that you can do to kind of get yourself out there. Sometimes you can I guess establish like a mentor, so to speak, so they can help guide you, because it doesn't mean that you have to go into the direction that they went into, but some kind of background on how to start from somewhere is going to be helpful by joining organizations and really putting yourself out there, getting into like a committee, something, anything, just to see like, am I interested in it? And if you're not, you at least you're not interested in it. Can
Exactly.
move on when you in P2 year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just staying open, and I'm certain of it. Janaine's not like the first person who's given this advice. It's about diversifying your CV, engaging in meaningful activities, and staying open, because the opportunities in pharmacy school, like, they're there and they come, and there's just a handful of students that, and it's the same group that shows up for the opportunity, and not everybody goes after it. So I think that that's such great advice. So, as far as what your year has been like so far, you're, like you said, you're in a very unique residency program. Can you share with everybody a little bit, for those that are going to be looking for programs, or those that or are still a year or two away from starting to get to this stage? Tell us a little bit about your program and what your time there so far has been like. One of them has been trying to get licensed. We know that part already.
Yeah, that's everyone. That's
Yeah,
not even just me.
yeah.
Well, I would say in the beginning you're gonna feel like it's the honeymoon phase. Like, oh my God, it's so great. It's exciting to be here. I love it. I'm glad I got into this. You're shown everything. You're kind of, it's just baby steps in the beginning. And I started the 1st of July. So I started from like the Friday, just get to know the office, get to know everyone and stuff like that. And after you get to know the system and you kind of get to know the program, that first quarter of your residency, which I just finished my first quarter, it's going to be challenging. You're not going to know everything. It's a new world that you're entering in. And as I said, mine is managed care, and it is a software company as well as an MTM, which is the medication therapy management program that's a part of
Mhm.
it. So we have clients that we service for their MTM programs, and we do have licensures, which they just use our software, and we just adjust it to the way that they would like to assist their patients, whether it's being adherence to like diabetes, dyslipidemia, you name it, heart failure, multiple sclerosis, you name it, it's out there. We can do it for the patients. And I'm doing two different certifications. I'm doing the account management, which is also known now as client success. So that's more managing clients and going over what they want, if the software is what they need, doing background information, giving them doing the research. So everything that you learned about like data and anything that has to do with that, please make sure you pay attention in that class. You're going to need it. It
You're gonna
doesn't go
need
anywhere. You need it. Trust me. You don't want to be looking up this stuff and trying to read and research on what you're looking for,
yeah.
the definition of stuff. You just want to be, going head first on what you're doing. And we also pay attention to we're heavy on the medication therapy management program. So you speak to a lot of the older adults, or I would say patients who are on Medicare or Medicaid. Those are like the main population that we pay attention to, the ones that we definitely are placed in the program and they need that extra help. You're just noticing little things that could be causing some non-adherence, and you're doing your investigation kind of to see, therapeutically, clinically, if they're actually doing what they're supposed to do, and if so to speak, if they are, why is there still some non-adherence? Is it a cost issue? Is
Mhm.
it is it causing adverse effects? And is it transportation? It could be anything that's been causing this. People who we deal with, are a lot of them end up in the donut hole. Like, what are we gonna do to help them? How can we assist? Do we
Mhm.
need to contact the doctor's offices? Do we need to contact the pharmacy? So, putting in that extra work in the background, it can be a lot. So um, just knowing that you have to take that on, plus you have your clinical work that you have to do on the side, can be very, it can be a lot.
Yeah. So essentially, you have like this technology and process and operational process component to your program, but there's also a
Mhm.
clinical component to your program.
Yes, where
That's
I still
really,
do research,
yeah,
update, any guideline changes. I have to update like recommendations that we have, just like the heart failure recommendation just changed. So all of that needs updating, every
yeah.
single piece of it. If something else is linked to that one,
It
that
needs,
needs
yeah,
updating as well. It takes
yeah,
a lot, and you have to, all your references, and you have to know how to look up, know where to find everything.
yeah.
So all those little skills, guys, it still
That's
counts
um,
everywhere.
that's really great. This is that sounds like so unique, but also really great and sounds really well balanced because I think that the majority of residency programs, the focus is that clinical component, like making sure that clinically you're functioning at a high level. So this other piece of it that teaches you operation and sustainability models and stuff like that, I would have loved that my training incorporated that because my clinic practice now, it's all about
Yeah,
that. It's not just that you're developing innovative clinical services, but how do you build the appropriate quality metrics to measure that impact and how do you sustain it? How do you grow it? How do you scale it? So all those things I've had to like teach myself that. um,
exactly.
I didn't, it was just you need to be up to par with your clinical skills, but all of what you're describing, this sounds really, really amazing and very well balanced. So,
Yeah.
my other question for you that I think would be super good for people to learn, how did you overcome like the shock of not matching at phase one? Like, what was that
Oh,
process like? Like, it's, is it, I'm sorry. I want to let you describe it because I'm sitting here and trying to imagine what that felt like when I can't, right? Like I don't have that experience, so I don't want to like project. But because I think that like tonight, for example, the group I talked to before you, two of the three executive fellows at ASHB, they didn't match at phase one. They didn't match at phase two.
wow.
And now
Wow.
they're executive fellows at ASHB, right? So
Yeah.
I'm really, really loving this place that we are coming to where we are comfortable talking about not matching and talking about what our perceived failures are. Because I think that it could be really empowering for the people that are preparing to go through this, for them to see a Jenaine, like I didn't match at phase one, but pushing through all of those things I was feeling
Mhm.
now has me here. And here is pretty sweet, despite how tired you are. I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to acknowledge that. But
Yeah.
I want to know if you could share a little bit about what you went through with trying to push and overcome that initial shock, because I know it was a shock. It was a shock to me.
Mhm. I want to say, never give up. That's one thing for sure. But I definitely sat in the corner of my room and just stared at the ceiling, like, what did I do wrong? Like, I'm confused. I was overwhelmed because it was such a tedious process.
Yeah.
And going through all those interviews, you're exhausted. Plus, you still have rotations and you still have things to do. And you're just like, well, what do I do now? I know
Mhm.
there's a phase two, but what do I
Yeah.
do now?
Yeah.
It's a confusing time. It's like you kind of question your worth just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it took me sitting back and just sleeping, honestly. And I woke up and I said, I did everything right. I did all that I needed to do, but it doesn't mean that um anything I did was wrong. It was just probably not where I was meant to be. And I took that and I said, you know what? I need to reevaluate everything that I did. Try to find, what the problem was or why is it that I didn't match? Because sometimes you have this opinion of yourself, but
Mhm.
you're not seeing what's projected to others. So
Absolutely.
I reached out to the programs,
Mhm.
especially the ones that I really wanted to go to, and I sent an email and asked them for their feedback, and the feedback was really good. It was like, you were great, you were this, you were that,
Yeah.
but just try to do this little thing. And you're like, just this little
Little
thing is
thing.
what
Yeah.
kept me from getting it.
Yeah.
Seriously, just one little thing. And it's, you use those things to just go back, reevaluate yourself, and set yourself apart from everyone else. If you want to go back into phase two or phase three, you're going to have to set yourself apart. And setting yourself apart is getting that feedback, because resident directors, they honestly speak to each other. They see each other at different conferences. Like I'm at the conference this week for AMCP, and you're going to realize that they come together and they all have a common goal on what they want from a resident.
Mhm.
Some things might set them apart, but most of the things that they want, it's always similar. And pulling those little details out about yourself that would set you apart from everyone else is you asking for that feedback,
Yeah.
seeing what they see from their end.
Mhm.
What were their comments? What could you work on? What could you have done better?
Yeah.
Where did you mess up? um you have to just humble yourself and just take that as, critical criticism. Just, it's important to take it from them, because when you get to residency, you're going to get it.
Yes.
It's about you communicating this as well. So doing it now is only going to help you when you get there.
Absolutely. And I think like the biggest takeaway from like everything you just said is humbling yourself and taking a step back to really evaluate yourself and evaluate what you did. Because I honestly and truly don't believe that giving up on it is the solution. But I respect it, when I talk to students who say that they think that they've had enough, like they think that this is it. They want to figure it out in a non traditional way, because the reality is also that residency is not for everybody, right? So there is that one group where it's like they have already counted themselves out in that this is not what I'm meant to do, or this is not for me, or this is as far as I'm going to go. But
Oh,
I
and
think
I did do that too, because I think I messaged you that. I was like, I don't think I want to do this
I'm going to do
anymore. In the
this. Yeah.
moment, you're just upset. You're like, I
Yes.
don't want to do this. I'm giving
Yes.
up. But Sally is not that person. I'm just going to let you know right now. She's not going to give up on you. So don't give up on yourself, because she's not going to give up on you. She's not.
I remember you text me. It was like, I'm just done. I'm just done. I just don't even know how I feel, but this is it. This is as far as I'm going to go. And I remember exactly what I text you back, and I said, you have
No,
you have every right to feel how you feel, but really, Jenaine, no.
no. That's how it was. And I was upset. I was like, she just said no. So I know she's
No.
going to message me later about, so we need to meet. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can't
And
give up.
I at least gave you a day, but then the next
Hmm.
day I was like, okay,
What are
this
we
is
doing?
this is what we're doing. Like, what's gonna happen? Give me a call. We need to start planning. We need to. And I was just like, no. Like, if people like Jenaine can't secure positions, I legit will like give up on this entire process. And I didn't want to believe it, but I also knew your heart was in it. And I
Yeah.
felt a sense of responsibility in helping make sure that you stayed really focused on that vision that you had, because
Yeah.
it was so clear. Like every time I asked you, why do you want to do residency, you were very clear about why you wanted a residency. You weren't twisting in the wind about it. So you made me believe in you and what you wanted to do. And now you want to come tell me how you're done. I was like, oh, she just needs the day. That's fine. I'll give it to her. I'll be respectful. She's feeling
Oh
the
my
way.
God.
I'll be respectful, but no. Uh,
Yeah. And best believe my mom and my sister were like, yes, Sally's right.
yeah.
I'm like,
See,
okay, she's not on my
Your
side.
sister agreed with me. She knew what time it
She
was.
did.
We
She
have a
did.
question from Joelle, and her question is basically if you could share a specific area that you worked on and how you improved in that area. And I think this is probably specifically the difference in what you did with phase one and phase two.
One thing that I know I did for sure was tweaking my answers to questions,
Yeah.
making sure, especially when it came on to your weaknesses and your strengths,
Mhm.
make sure that they're relatable to how you improved. What did you do to make that better? Not just, oh, this is a weakness. Okay, with that weakness and you're aware,
Yeah.
how can you, what did you do? What are the steps that you took when you realized that happened? Or when did you realize that? And what happened after that? How did you build upon that? If you
Mhm.
have a strength, how did you use that strength? How are you using it? How are you improving on that strength? Not just, oh, this is a strength and I'm going to leave it here at this level. No. How are you making it improve? How are you going to strengthen it? How are you going to get it to grow? You
Yeah.
can't just give answers and just make it one flat line.
Yeah.
Nothing is like that. Is not. You need to be able to speak on it, because if you can speak on it, you have to remember they don't know you. It's on a piece of paper. So that time you're spending in that, meeting that you're having in that interview is them getting to know you. So it takes a little bit of vulnerability, and it's hard to do that when you're not aware, or you don't know someone, or they haven't been in a class with them for the past 3 years,
Mhm.
explaining to them how the person that you are. You have to really just take yourself outside of that box and, just be different. It's okay to be different. When
Yes.
I gave my answers, some of them were unconventional answers, but they appreciated them. And I got feedback after, like, wow, I really like that you gave that answer. I would have never done that when I was interviewing at my time, but
Yeah.
I feel that people should be more comfortable talking about this so I can actually get to know you. And it's
Absolutely.
so important, so
It's
important.
yeah, because and I think that this is a thing that we have to really, really emphasize when we're like preparing people for interviews. Authenticity still matters. Like this idea that there's a cookie cutter, there's a shape that the program has built, and you need to
Mhm.
conform so you can reflect that same shape. No, authenticity matters because when you show up in the truest version of who you are,
Mhm.
people are going to fall in love with that courage because it takes a lot of courage to show up and be authentic. So when you're responding to certain questions, and I remember an example that I have of this, like it was along the lines of strengths and weaknesses, right? What is a major strength you had, and how has that strength helped you grow in your life in general? And I'm practicing with a young lady, and I asked her this question, and she was moved to tears. And I couldn't understand what was happening, but she suffered a major trauma and major loss in pharmacy school. Her GPA went from 3.8 to 3.2. She was grieving, and somehow within a year, she found the courage and the strength again to bring her GPA back to a 4.0. But she just was scared that if she's asked about strength or resilience, that's her superpower essentially. That's her
Mhm.
strength. She's scared that if she cried in an interview that would be viewed as a weakness, right? So it's like it's really, really teaching you that if that's your truth, you have got to live in that space and be comfortable. And this is a beautiful thing that you're sharing. You went from a 3.8 to almost falling
Exactly.
off because you lost like three family members suddenly at the same time due to a tragic accident. So that would derail anybody. So
Yeah.
to be able to turn that around, and now you're interviewing for residencies. I don't know any residency director that wouldn't want to know that such a power and fire exists in anyone, right? So like
Mhm.
I just think it's really interesting that you're talking about just authenticity and making sure that you're speaking truth to power, because I'm telling you there is such a thing as being overly modest when you're interviewing. There's such
Yes.
a thing as just like, I just don't want to brag. It's not bragging if you have direct examples and evidence of all of the things that you've done, and you can show and lead right to that and how you've done all these things. So I hope like
Mhm.
you guys are really hearing what Jenaine is saying here when she says that be able to really talk about yourself in a comfortable and
Mhm.
confident way. So Jenaine, I have a question for you. I know you're probably just like, oh my God, Sally. But I really just, I have to say that I really admire, again, I just admire your strength and your courage and your commitment. Like you've just been like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to happen. And you stuck to it, even though you had this one day where you were like, and I give
I'm
it to
not doing it.
it was just one day of, I'm not doing it. I was like, okay, no, but I'll talk to you tomorrow. Um, so there's a lot that other people could learn from you. I'm curious, like what you have to tell a P1 or a P2, or even the people that are coming in the trenches in like a month or so. What is some wisdom that you've picked up along the way that you want to share with them as they begin this journey in a short little while?
I would say it might sound cliche. I don't know if people are doing this, but write about yourself in a book. Get a clean book, nothing's in it. Write about yourself with that humble brag and read to yourself aloud about yourself.
Yeah.
And it will build your confidence about yourself. Like, I really did all these things. Write about your P1 year, how you, at the end of your P1 year, write what happened, even if it's by semester. Like, what have I done? What could I have done better? These are stories you can use for your interviews. P2 year, everything that you've done, every stage, every step of the way, an event or somewhere that you presented something. What did I do? What did I do that I think I could have done better? Or what was the feedback that I got? Write those little things down. Those are your strengths and weaknesses. How did you build on those? Those are things you can take with yourself, take with you for life. It doesn't just stop at the interviews. It's things you can use to reflect on yourself every day. Even when you get to residency and you're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Like, why did I do this? How did I get here?
Yeah.
Open that book and read it and see how you got there. All the things that you put yourself through, you put yourself through this. No one forced you to do this. You wanted to do this.
You put
You're
yourself
going to
through
sit
this?
there and read it and be like, I did all these things. I can't believe all these things I've done and accomplished throughout 4 years, and I'm complaining.
Yeah.
I've done a lot to get here. I deserve this. There's nobody else to blame but myself. I deserve what I've done to myself. You
I
know
deserve,
what I mean?
I earned this. I earned this
Yes,
awesomeness. And now I'm paying for being so awesome.
exactly.
That's so funny. I love this idea though, Jenaine. I don't think I do this, but I think that I should do this, even just for me, because what you're
Yeah.
saying is to focus on self-reflection. And I think as a student, it could be really, really profound. Like, even if you're a person right now saying that after every rotation, reflect on that rotation.
Yes.
Write down what you've done and what you've accomplished, what you've noticed change in yourself. This is really great. No, nobody's tossed that advice out yet, Jenaine. I'm not surprised. So I think that this is a really good advice. There's a lot of power in writing things down. I
Yeah.
believe this a lot. Ideas tend to live in my head forever, but the moment I write it down, I feel a certain level of bond and attachment to it. Now I gotta go and do it. Now, if I say that I want to do such and such and I write it down,
You're gonna
something
do it.
happens in my mind now where I feel like I'm attached to this idea I've put down. I have to go and make it come true. So I can
Hmm.
really see how that could be so powerful. Will you
Yeah.
be at mid-year, Dr. Thorpe?
Yes, I will be at mid-year.
Yay. And
So if anyone sees
program,
me, just say hey.
your program is participating in the showcase?
Yes, I think we are participating in the showcase
Okay.
as well.
So look for Janaine's program. What's the name of your program again? Just for the folks.
It's CSS Health.
CSS Health. They will be at mid-year and they are participating in the showcase. I've had to ask everybody if it's okay to reach out to them. I can tell you it's totally okay to reach out to Jenaine. Reach out to her. Trust me, it will be advice that's served straight up with no chaser. She won't waste
Mm-mm.
your time. Um,
Mm-mm.
but thank you. I love
You're
connecting with
welcome.
you every time.
You
Um,
know I do.
I do too. The conversations are always so real, which always serves my soul so well. So I truly appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit of your journey with the students and prospective candidates. Um, Trust me, if you're looking to just have an honest conversation about what the move should be and what the move shouldn't be, Jenaine is a good person to reach out to. She has a lot of really good perspective about how to move in these streets. Thank you. Thank you, Jenaine.
You're
And thank you,
welcome.
everybody, for a wonderful Monday session. We do have tomorrow evening again at 6 and 7 p.m., I believe. I'm going to have to double check my schedule, but thank you for all the engagement that we've been getting and have a great night. I'll talk to you later, Dr. Thorpe.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye,
well,
everyone.
good night, everybody.
Good night.